Hello and good morning, feeders. Today is August 8th, 2021, and my name is DJ. Joining us today, we have Feeder Finance Patrick again to help with the weekly update. You want to say hi, Pat?
Hi, guys.
Ooh, that sound quality coming in nice and crisp and clear. Beautiful, beautiful stuff here. Thank you, Jimmy, for the microphone. So real quick, we're going to go through the TLDR. The Binance Incubator Program Application is in progress, and the team will be submitting it on Monday. The new target vault list has been updated on the DApp. The August Marketing Initiative vote is in progress, and you can vote at the link in the weekly update. And the change log for this week is at the bottom of the weekly update as well. Lots of good stuff there. So first, we're going to move into our core business updates and talk about the Binance Incubator Program. So it looks like we've gotten a couple more things done this week. Pat, you want to give a few thoughts here on that?
Sure. So this week our focus was, to finalize the Binance Incubator Program application. We mostly, on Jimmy's side, he mostly spent his time with Paula to finalize the designs that will, what we have now is a V1, but we want to present the V2 as well on the deck. So we, Jimmy and Paula did that over the week, while what I've been doing is basically to craft a message and the deck to submit with the application form. That entails doing some research about the market as well, thinking about how we are, going to evolve as a platform, the type of features we'll have, the products we'll have, who our target market are, what the pain points we, want to solve, and general information, actual personal information of the team, which is required as KYC, and we included that in the deck, and that's just for the deck itself, and the application form is pretty lengthy. I think at the end it was about 1,000 plus words going into that, so it's quite a lengthy thing. Yeah, and you don't write these things once; you go over it and rewrite it a couple times. So it was a pretty tiring thing to do, but we did that, and now both is circulating internally. Jimmy's reading the, what I crafted and providing comments or edits where necessary, and also with the deck crafted, Jimmy and Paul is working on making it look pretty, which is not my strength. And then once that's done, then tomorrow we will meet actually to record. It's actually just a 1-2 minute sort of video to introduce a project and the team. So we'll do that, and then we aim to submit tomorrow. So that's the progress on the Binance application.
Beautiful. And you say here that you'll release a public version and add it to the docs. When exactly do you think this might happen?
Well, we think once Binance, has made their decision, and regardless, like whether we, make it or not make it, doesn't really matter since we have the deck. I'll just need to edit the deck so that we remove the some of the private information that we have. We still want to stay anon, so those will be removed, and then once the whole thing, once Binance is done with their process, then we'll release it and put it in a doc. I mean, all of the information that we have in there is, you guys probably know it anyway.
Right.
Perhaps the new thing is the design itself, and we probably have the V2 anyway by that time. So it's not going to be something new, but it's probably a good material, for you guys to have. And if you want to share it, that's good material too. So we'll release that so everybody has access to it.
Oh yeah, everybody loves stuff to share after an elevator pitch, so I think that's going to be right up our community members' alleys. So moving on here, looks like we have a new vault list, both from our research and community suggestions, and they'll be integrated into our V2 DApp upgrade over August. So it looks like we're implementing Rabbit at 31% APY, XVS, which is Venus, I believe, at 63% APY, and then MDX. I'm not familiar with this one.
That's MDEX. That's one of the top swap exchanges.
Gotcha.
Or DEX. Yeah.
And then Bunny, 270% APY. Oh my god. Wow. All right. So lots of big platforms coming here. Were there any that got cut that you would have liked to have seen added into this V2 upgrade, or any thoughts?
We have a lot of vaults in our list, and maybe first before I go there, just to clarify, these vaults are planned for August before the V2. So we over the month of August we'll work, in parallel, to work on the vaults and to, do the new UI and the other many dozens of new products that are coming out with the upgrade. But these vaults, they'll come out over the month anyway. So it's more like over August we'll target to release 4 to 7 vaults before the V2 comes out. Because we still have those 3 auto farms we haven't released yet, and these ones are the new additions. So these are coming out, over the next 4 weeks or so. And whether we exclude it, I mean, we have a lot of options to pick out from. Maybe not as much from the community itself. These are basically almost all of these are actually from the community. So Rabbit, XPS, Bunny all 3 were from the community. I think Bunny was more from the DM side. I got DMs requesting that. And Dex was because we're already adding 2 more targets that are on the Rabbit platform. We thought we might as well add another just so we have the main ones, because basically once we're done with these 3 deposit tokens for Rabbit, I think we're done with Rabbit. So as long as they don't add new interesting ones, we'll be done with Rabbit. And for Bunny as well, I think, because the rest are auto farm type products, so they're LPs in terms of the staking type vaults. We have a bunch of bunnies. We have this bunny, and the other bunnies are in the auto farm, in the auto diversify anyway. So with these, we're done with Bunny and Rabbit. And we have a lot of new ones coming up with the UI update. So we'll target to get close to, or maybe even 100 products, and that means maybe 60 or so, 60, 70 additional ones that are coming up. So that's all in the list with the V2.
Oh wow! So we're currently sitting at 40 or so, 50.
I think. I mean, if you count auto diversify as one, I think we're at 20 something, if I'm not mistaken. If you did count the vaults within auto diversify, then we're way beyond that.
Right.
But so and these new vaults coming out to auto diversify to the V2, they're not all auto compounding vaults, because for instance, Beefy offers products that are auto compounding anyway, and they don't offer rewards. That means we can't, or we don't have to auto compound, because they're auto compounding anyway. So what we'll do, and basically that's the idea, right? We offer this access to all the main platforms, through us. And so a lot of these products that are coming out with V2 will basically be this gateway and this facilitation for making these transactions out of our platform and aggregating your investments within our portfolio, portfolio UI. And so a lot of those will be included in V2. And so you can sort of code, 40, 50, 60 vaults, because they're not complex vaults. They're basically, deposit and withdrawal type vaults anyway. So that's why the numbers are so high, and that's why it's achievable.
Interesting. Okay, so it looks like a lot of good stuff coming this month. The V2 DApp, the Binance Incubation listing, all these new vaults coming out. Speaking of August initiatives, it looks like we've launched our marketing proposal. we had some community members trying to figure out how the money for the marketing proposal would be divided. And taking a look at the vote here, it looks as if we have places for people to choose where that money will go. Do you want to talk a bit briefly about that, Pat?
Sure. So the marketing piece is something that is very regularly discussed with community and us, and we provided thoughts, and the community provided thoughts, and we thought, in the end, we have all these suggestions, and why not just have the community vote on it? Because then, if we decide on it, some people might agree or disagree, and we are in this age where you can allow for people to vote and do it anonymously and do it from anywhere, everywhere around the world. And so we might as well utilize that technology with, especially with blockchain. So that's what we did, and we'll see, how the vote will go. We also actually, after our proposal, we looked at the discussions within the proposal and added a couple options that the community suggested there. One of those being, not spending anything for the month of August as well. And there's a really, really good and long explanation about the rationale why that's a good option. And I encourage people to go and read, what Win suggested in his proposal there. So it's what we try to do to help, drive the project towards being a really fully community-driven project. So that's what we're doing.
And that is the plan one day, correct? To hand off the reins via a DAO?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go, because it's the most sustainable way, and it's really amazing that this can be done, right? Because typically, as when people launch a company, you either you go public and you hire management and you do all of that stuff, but with crypto and blockchain technology and with the DAO system, we found that this project, we develop it to a certain stage where it's relatively successful, it's sort of self-sustaining, and it makes sense for it to be driven by the actual users and the community and the holders, and not solely by us, because we're a team of 3, and we may or may not be the best people to run it, and it might just be the best and most sustainable way to do it the DAO way. And we think that's where we'll eventually end up, but you can't do it right away or now, because of how slow things could be, and because you have all these discussions. It could take weeks or months to get one thing done, because of all these ideas coming in, and when do you actually make that decision about voting, what goes through the options of the voting, all of that has to be decided by the DAO, right? Because nobody's taking that, nobody's the actual leader, right? With the way DAOs work. So that's where we're going in the long term, but it's not what's happening right now. It's more like we're sort of preparing the community and sort of trying to get the community engaged and familiarized with helping to drive the project. So that's in preparation for what's happening in the long term.
That is, I think, definitely going to be the way of the future. Just seeing that decentralized organization take authority one day after a set of ground rules has been laid out for it to work within. And I definitely think we'll need the community's input, suggestions, and comments on being able to create that. So,
yeah, and I think legally speaking, there are states in the U.S. and other parts of the world where you can actually set up legal entities with DAOs, and so that's an interesting thing to think about. When at some point, Feeder Finance DAO might be an actual company, running this financial conglomerate, all based on the community, driving things. So that's exciting to think about.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of our weekly update here. But before we go, this week there was an article about Gary Gensler specifically, and I sent you this article, so you already know, but I'm going to read it here specifically this one line. And I want to just get your thoughts on it for our community members here, Pat. So, the line reads, Gensler says he's thinking regulating crypto exchanges is perhaps the easiest way for the government to get a quick handle on digital token trading. But he's also concerned about new ways people are getting into crypto, such as peer-to-peer lending on so-called decentralized finance or DeFi platforms. If firms are advertising a specific interest rate return on a crypto asset, Gensler says, that could bring the loans under SEC oversight. Platforms that pool digital assets could be seen as akin to mutual funds, potentially allowing the SEC to regulate them. So that is quite a lofty statement there. A lot of things going on. First, I just want to hear your thoughts on the statement itself, not particular to Feeder Finance, but to crypto as a whole.
Sure. I think if you break that whole thing down, there are three pieces to that statement. Mm-hmm. Number one is regulating centralized exchanges, and first, and then trying to regulate decentralized exchanges or decentralized blockchain, DeFi technologies and projects. Mm-hmm. The second thing is advertising of APYs, and third being, projects like us deemed as mutual funds. And the first piece, I think, to be honest, in the very, very, and maybe not that very long term, I don't think there's a need for a centralized exchange, because if you make the blockchain, the on-ramp process of blockchain accessible and easy enough, there really isn't a need for a centralized exchange, because you can decentralize centralized exchange, right?
Correct.
That's basically what Pancake does. You can decentralize P2P, and so you can on-ramp fiat into blockchain, stable coins or stable currencies and all that stuff. So to my mind, I think, and that's maybe why Binance has launched this BSC, because they might see that, at some point there really isn't a need for a centralized exchange. The blockchain technology allows for it to not exist at some point.
Right.
So on the regulation side, they'll need to, if they want to regulate it, they'll need to find a way to regulate blockchain, but it's going to be hard, because as we all know, how do you regulate things that are, how do you regulate if your population or part of your population does not want to be regulated, and you can be anonymous on blockchain, right? If you don't register your wallet with the government, and you just use your wallet and you find a way to anonymously, in cash or in other ways, transfer fiat into crypto. And there are ways to do it, right? Because basically, if I hand my friend $1,000 and tell him to wire me Ether, for instance, that nobody can trace the fact that now I have $1,000 of Ether on the blockchain, because you can't regulate it, you can't follow or track cash. So on that piece, I think it's going to be tough for them. The only way for them to actually regulate it is to make it so that people want to be regulated.
Right.
So your regulation has to be friendly, has to be innovative, has to be aligned with the spirit of blockchain technology and the spirit of people within it, because it's a whole new culture and a whole new way of thinking. So that's on the regulation side for centralized and decentralized exchanges. On the APY advertisement, I sort of agree with this one, because people advertise their 1,000% APYs, but they don't advertise the risk, and there are risks, and a lot of people don't understand that risks and returns are correlated in most cases in the long run. So I don't know how to regulate it, probably through blocking of advertising and all that stuff, but I do sympathize with the fact that they want to sort of try to regulate advertising all these high APYs, because it could be damaging to a lot of people, because they see these high APYs and they don't know that, well, you get a lot of APYs, but you're investing in a token that is could be highly liquid, could be highly volatile.
Right.
and could be a scam or a fraud, and all that stuff. So I'm sympathetic with that. In terms of the last point being a mutual fund, technically I think that's correct, because by identifying projects that do, vaults and all that stuff as mutual funds, because you're handling, or you're taking people's money and you're managing it, right? So that's true. And so do I think there needs to be regulation? I go back to the first point, that is, you can't regulate it unless you make it so that people want to be regulated and see the point of being regulated. And it goes to all these, right? Do projects that do DeFi and vaults want to be regulated? Well, if you do it the old way, no, right? Like if you do it the way that we need to hire 100 lawyers to just keep the business going, no, we don't want to do that. But if you do it in a friendly way, where we don't need to hire lawyers, we don't need to hire lobbyists, and we don't have to, and new project founders can launch projects without, going through a year-long process with the SEC. If you can do that with regulation, then, sure, let's do it, right? So I think that's my thoughts on, the whole regulation piece of crypto, and hopefully someday a regulator might be able to listen to this. And I think a lot of the crypto founders and project founders and people in the industry share the same thought, because we're not against regulation. It's just do it right, man. Like, don't just do it the way you've done it before. Like, that doesn't work.
Well, I think it's interesting because, something like our platform, for example, is a quasi mix of, creating loans and gaining interest off that, but also it's a mix of mutual fund. You're loaning out your money, but it's also into a mutual fund like environment where, people are pooling their money together. And so I think the SEC really hasn't had any type of beast like this to tackle before. It's like a dragon with 1,000 heads. How do you kill the Hydra? And that's what it feels like to me, is DeFi is just this giant Hydra with so many sprawling heads that they don't even know where to start. They saw Bitcoin as a commodities and not exactly a security, but now Gensler is saying that other cryptos in the space are considered securities and not commodities. And I think at the end of the day, they're all just algorithms. That's it. They just say that something happened here, a hash, a transaction, and I really don't think there's any sort of precedent to really say that this thing is a security or a commodity. But these digital assets as a whole, I think, need an entire new asset class to be defined as. So hopefully we'll get that from Gensler and the SEC coming up. But I think probably central exchanges will come under fire first. And like you said, I think that's why a lot of central exchanges are either moving away or diving headfirst, like Coinbase, and IPOing and getting all the regulation done, things like that. So that's all we have this week for you guys. If you liked our unabridged thoughts here at the end, we could potentially do more of these in the future, but we definitely like to hear your thoughts on this week's update and all the things we've talked about. Do you have any final closing thoughts for us here, Pat?
I guess just briefly, congratulations on anyone being in ETH, and it's really exciting, seeing that the London DIP upgrade and all of that going on, and seeing crypto getting in sort of a bull market again. Everybody's happy, so congratulations, and happy trading, everyone.
Yeah, let's hope this bull market continues, and go ETH, especially ETH. I think hopefully, and this is not investment advice, I hope that we see ETH flip Bitcoin this year. That's my hopes. So fingers crossed, guys. But
Indeed.
all right, that's all for this week, folks. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to give us your thoughts.